everybody. This is Kevin Miller with the All Equity Podcast. I'm so excited today. Truly, I'm getting to speak with someone that I admire, somebody that I aspire to be like as I continue down my path and growing up and becoming a young man into a man with a family and all of that. And today we have none other than the one and only Dr. Charlie.
Awesome. Thank you for the intro, and I really appreciate the invitation to be here today. I'm excited.
Me too, Dr. Charlie. So I think how I actually discovered your videos, you give these dash cam videos on Instagram and LinkedIn. And I'm always kind of seeing what's hot, out in, social media land. And have a tech background. So I'm always looking for people that are just inspiring at a really high frequency. First of all, why leverage social media in that way instead of building your brand and trying to get more customers? It really seems like you're trying to just get a certain message out and inspire. Why are you doing that?
With COVID, it really, knocked the wind out of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And before that, I was about building my brand, my business, and that whole message.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized, there's a lot of people that are hurting right now. And they're not asking me about how to build their team or, how to get more productivity out of their workers. They're like, hey, what do I say to my family? What do I say to my children? I don't feel good. I'm afraid. People were afraid, seriously afraid. And I'm talking about leaders of companies, not
right.
And I had to listen, you can't roll into your company like that. You're gonna scare your people to death. You have that attitude, So we've got to overcome and figure this out. And so then I realized that people needed to hope, number one, and then they needed to understand that yes, I've lost all of these things, and there's things beyond my control. But then I really felt like people need to understand what they control, and control those things and do those things. As a matter of fact, look to your left and look to your right, and if you see some folks that need some assistance, give it to them. Reach out to them. Make it happen, even if it's uncomfortable. So it really became about that, and it really resonated with people, and I've just gotten some great connections and opportunities to speak to people in a wider group. And I remember just a couple of weeks ago, it was a company and CEO, someone had sent him one of my videos, and then he went to the office manager and said, hey, see if you can get a hold of this guy. And
oh, wow.
3 or 4 days later, I'm speaking to the entire organization.
Wow.
And I was really shocked at the notes that I got back, and it's the same thing. We really needed that. And it was just a message of hope and kinship, and how, we're all in this together, and how, it's about uniting and supporting one another through this time, because it is really unprecedented. And so that it just became clear that that's what was needed,
And the people wanted that from you. It just kind of started spiraling. When was the first video?
May.
Wow.
In May. And I was so hard to hit that button.
Right.
Record. I was like, yeah. And I think I made 2 videos in May. And then the only reason why I know this, because I was sitting around going, I have all these videos on my phone. I need to figure out how to back these things up. What if something happens to my phone? And so, of course, I sat there. I spent a good portion of a Saturday evening angry before I finally scrolled down long enough.
Yep.
Because I have a Dell computer. I have an Alienware. And then this is an Apple product. And so I didn't find anything on Apple's site to help me, and nothing on Dell or Alienware. But some guy posted, and it was someone asked a question, it was one answer, and it's probably like 30 searches down.
Yeah.
And his solution worked, and I got all the videos, but I found I had to download them each month. And so then maybe June I did 6, and then in July, maybe I did a dozen. And then in August is when I started the 5 days a week. And it just really caught fire.
Wow. And so for folks that want to do what you're doing and inspire at that level, Was there a certain level of kind of selflessness and letting go of your expectations that had to happen for it to really reach like that level of success, or how did that really happen?
Yes, it's true. And you can't, a couple of things is
Yeah.
you can't be afraid
Okay.
of being criticized.
Mm.
Because guess what? You're going to be criticized. So, right? So
Yeah.
don't worry about it. It's going to happen. So don't worry about it. And so if you make a video, we're going to criticize you for making a video. If you don't make a video, we're going to ask you why you're not making it. So, so don't worry about the criticism. But then it's just, you know, being open to tell your story and have a point of view that's not. And I really make sure that my point of view is I'm not sharing any toxic information. We got enough blackjack stuff out there right now. We don't need any more of that. And, you know, I'm not taking in political sides, none of those things. I'm talking about how can this human being or me as a human being connect with other human beings on a positive level. That's it.
I see.
And then, like you said, letting go of the expectation. It's not about likes. It's not about shares or any of that. It's about connecting to human beings. And here's something interesting, Kevin. There's been times where I make a video and I was like, yeah, that's not my best stuff, but you know, I don't have time for another one today. And so boom, you know, I send it out. And those are the ones that night, I remember I was in Pennsylvania about probably 5 weeks ago. And I'd made a video and I just didn't think it was the best, but you know, I was traveling and trying to do this. And I remember that night, I don't even know how to do this, but someone left me a voice message on my LinkedIn.
Yes, people have been doing that lately.
Right. And this lady was telling me how she was in a very dark place. And she says, I just want, you know, she says, I was going to send you a note. She says, I want you to hear my voice. I want you to know how important this message was to me. And you don't realize how many people you're helping. And it really, you know, hit me pretty hard. And I was like, well, it's not for me to decide, you know, if it's great or who it's going to impact. I have no idea. So I feel like my calling is to put it out there, and then it will find the right people. I believe that somebody, and again, another person said, hey, I was in a dark place and a friend sent this to me, and I want you to know I'm a new fan and I'm watching all your stuff every day. So those messages to me really, like, I was stunned, you know, and then I'm like, this is a real challenge people are having. This is a real issue. This isn't, you know, this isn't the news here. This is real life. And so then, you know, I just want to, you know, I just want to help other human beings. And I think, you know, the Dalai Lama said this some time ago. He said, our primary purpose in life is to help other people. And he said, if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. And that hits me really, you know, really in a special place because it's true.
Right. And
so when you look at it from that perspective, it changes your life. And then you really look at other human beings different. They're all human beings. And if they're struggling with something, it's not for me to judge them or make fun of them. It's for me to help them or see if I can get someone that can help them, instead of having an attitude of look at him or look at her, or he should have or she should have. It's not the time. They need help. And so how can I help? And so that's my life, you know, and I, you know, of course I need to make a living too.
Right.
However, because people hear my voice, then, you know, those opportunities
work itself out.
come too. It's going to come too. So it's been an amazing journey. And again, I've only been making those videos every day since August. And so only in a few months, it's really important. So it's really neat too. I love doing it. And I'm getting, you know, a handle on how to manage my schedule more, because I try to respond to everyone.
It's hard.
When I get busy, it's just there's not enough time in the day.
Right.
And then I have a very close friend that tells me, you need to sleep at night. You need to turn off the computer, get to bed. You're telling everybody else to be healthy.
Right. I mean, he's right though. He's right though. I mean, I have people telling me that like all the time. It's like, boy, you get in that bed, sleep.
And you know, Kevin, I'm one of
Ah,
those people, and there's people that love to sleep. Okay,
yeah,
that's not me. If I
yeah.
didn't have to sleep, I wouldn't. I'd rather stay up. I like getting stuff done. Even when I was a kid, I hated to sleep. I hated to take
Mhm.
a nap. I didn't want to go to bed. I just wanted to stay up. And so I don't like to go to sleep. I
Who put
don't.
this, who honestly put this fire in you though? To be
Ah,
like a duty of yours. Who instilled that in you?
yeah, it's interesting because I think what happened is over time, as
Mhm.
I was coming up,
Yep.
growing up, and even in early adulthood,
In Kansas, right?
yeah, in Kansas, I had some dark times and things like that, Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
and I just didn't want anybody to ever feel like I felt,
Mm.
you know, and so I remember being, working in a place, and the boss was just rude and condescending, and it didn't make me feel good about myself. And I remember saying, if I ever become the boss, I'm never going to treat anybody like
Mm.
that. So when I got my first promotion, my whole philosophy was based on all the things that happened to me, and I did the
Oh,
opposite, right? And it was good training. And then somehow over time, that's morphed into a bigger picture. There was times that I struggled in life, and I just didn't have a mentor. No
right.
one. It wasn't a work ethic issue. It wasn't an intellectual issue. It was an experience issue and a knowledge issue, and I just didn't know, and no one was pointing me. And so I kept running into all these walls. But if you have a roadmap, you can get where you want to go a lot quicker.
Right.
And
And so is
so,
that why you do big brothers and big sisters? Is that why you
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And so, because you get someone a roadmap that
Right.
has a desire, they're going to get there, but it's
Mhm.
tough without a roadmap. And so I can show people, hey, here's some places that you can really speed your,
Do you
if they're
remember
willing,
who
if
that
they're
person
willing.
was for you? Who was that? Who is that real mentor, that first one that was like, this is who I need in my life?
You know, it's amazing. Um, um, I got a mentor late in life.
Really?
Yeah, and he's still alive, 76 years old. Daryl Rodrock is his
What
name.
up, Daryl?
And I got to tell you, this guy, I met him just a few years ago, and that first day that I met him, we must have spent about 6 hours together that day.
Wow.
Never met him before. And in the Kansas City area, he's kind of an icon. He is an icon.
Okay.
He was a builder, and he's retired now. But he built over 20,000 homes
Wow.
in Johnson County, Kansas. Johnson County, Kansas is one of the top 3 counties in the country as far as wealth. Okay,
Wow.
so very wealthy. So these aren't one room efficiency apartments he was building. But he had some similarities in his childhood to mine.
Okay.
And so here's a 76-year-old white man
Mhm.
that had just showed me so much love and appreciation and encouragement. Hey, I'm proud of you and who you are and what you're doing in your heart. And he would tell me these things. And there's just something about it, that
Something clicked.
something clicked.
Yeah.
And you only really need one person to believe
Yeah.
it,
Because
right?
what happens is it just starts manifesting and you
It
start
starts
finding
manifesting.
positivity in yourself.
And then I wanted to be that guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he
Mhm.
thinks so highly of me. Was it true? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is it true?
Right.
I don't want to let him down. Well, maybe I am that guy. Then you start to think
Then you
maybe I
start,
am,
yep.
right? Maybe that's true. Then I
Hmm.
started looking how far I've come.
Right.
Well, wow, I've accomplished all these stuff. I am that guy.
Hmm.
I just need to own it, and
Right.
be more of who I am. So
Right.
that's what I love too, Kevin. Is this is who I am. So if you see me at Walmart, or you see me at the movie theater, or you see me at the grocery store, you get the same thing.
Right.
And so it's easier, and it's just who I am. And so it's a kind of like an unfolding of a flower. The petals keep unfolding. The flower's there, but as it unfolds, you see the beauty of it. And so that's kind of how I feel as I'm coming into my own of who I am and what my purpose is here on this planet.
Mm.
And I want to be, add as much value as I can while I'm here, because I don't, nobody knows how much time we have.
Right.
So I want to make a difference for other people. And if I can inspire one person, then I feel like my life has been beneficial. If I can inspire two, hey, and then so on and so on. But that would be the person that I would say really was a, you know, kind of a milestone event in my life that I was like, okay, and he came at a time when I was, trying to build this business, and
Okay.
it's
You was going
hard.
through transformation.
It's hard. It's
Yep.
hard. It's hard. And, and he is just a special relaelationship. I need to call him too. As a matter of fact. But
That
I need to
reminds me
call
of
him. Yeah.
my mentor, man. That's I have
Yeah.
a mentor, also older white gentleman, successful investor, real estate investor, and he came to me. What's crazy is he came to me at the beginning when I wasn't who I am.
Mm.
So I was like 10.
Oh wow.
And he just kind of, he saw something different.
Right.
Like, something's different about this kid. Let me just give him a little game and see what he does with it. So he when I was like 10, I want to say like 13, he gave me $1,000. And that same $1,000, I probably at this point in my life easily, like, it'd be hard to calculate, but at least 20 times what his initial investment in me, and brought it back financially, emotionally, inspiring others. And I think, like, he just knew that I wasn't going to take that money and just do one thing.
Right.
I was going to fail and make more mistakes, try new things, going after new ventures and all that stuff. So I think, like, that's so interesting to me that yours was like at the tail end and mine was at the beginning. But I feel like that's just a perfect example of why mentorship is not about the time.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that, you have another human being looking you in the eyes and seeing beyond it,
Right.
to see who you really are underneath it all. And it just meant a lot to me. And yeah, it just meant a lot to me. And it's just a neat thing. And I remember someone asked me one time, well, why do you think you get along with Daryl so well?
Yeah. Why do you think?
Why do you think he likes you so much? I said, well, I think I don't want anything from him. That's the other. You know what I mean? That's
I do know what you mean, because they're among different company.
Right. I don't want anything
Yeah.
from him. And it's just about our friendship and conversations, and I just love hearing him talk. And
right.
And that wisdom, I just like to sit next to him and listen to what he has to say, and it's just amazing because he's been here, for so long and experienced so many things at a high level.
Yeah.
And he's all the advice he's given me has been 100% spot on.
Woo!
Every piece of it.
Ain't that good? Woo!
Every piece of it. Here's another thing. Here's one of the first things he told me. He says, Charlie, he says, your reputation arrives before you do.
I mean, that's a fact in this right now. What we're doing. That's
right. He says, this gets there first, just so you know. And it was amazing. And I remember my mother, I sent a picture of her to her, and I was with myself, Daryl Rodrock, and Dayton Moore, who's the general manager for Kansas City Royals. We're all in this picture. And so I sent it to her, and she said, well, I recognize Dayton Moore. She says, who's that next to you? I said, oh, it's Daryl Rodrock. She says, those two people, she said, I've never heard a single bad word about either one of them.
Wow.
Ever. She knew them both. And she said, I never heard anything negative, not one negativity.
Wow.
So I was like, I'd have to agree with that. They're two, and I don't know Dayton very well at all. I met him a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Just a phenomenal human being, right?
Right.
So yeah, and it's neat to meet those people because then it raises your level.
Yep.
You wanna emulate them.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna be like them, and it's a neat thing.
So when you were growing up, I know one of the challenges I had as a young man, especially being black, was not knowing where I fit in.
Oh,
Okay? I always felt like it's too nerdy and too, I always got called Oreo because they say I was white and all this stuff that doesn't mean anything. But when you're a kid, you take it a lot more personal,
yes,
right?
yes.
And that begins to form your conception of yourself. So for you, what were some of the things people would say about you when you were younger, and what were some of the struggles you had to get through?
Wow, it was a hard time. I got to tell you, because I grew up, it was in the '60s, and so I was born in '64. Well, there's some legislation that was signed in '64, so that's pretty
Yep.
new,
Yep.
and so people weren't necessarily in tune and in line with those things. And so I remember, one of the scariest things that happened to me is walking to school and being, threatened by a couple of white men in a pickup truck, and I was scared to death as a little boy, and didn't know what to do, and I ran, I ran toward the school, which was because I knew there was people,
Yeah.
and I just had some of these situations. I had about a handful of those situations as a child growing up where my life was directly threatened or being
Uh,
threatened, and I had to run, and that wasn't good. And so I think you're changed on a fundamental level when that happens. Okay. And then my father was, struggled with alcohol, so he's very abusive, and
mm-hmm.
he's one of these people. He's going to kill the whole family. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys, and
Wow.
so I remember I was in middle school, to have your father put a gun to your head,
Wow.
it changes you fundamentally. So there was a lot. So I had a lot of anger, and I found the football field. And so I played at a very high level, went to college, got a college scholarship. But I know, Kevin, that it's kind of like I think we're all given gifts to help us survive. An eagle is born with certain attributes,
Right.
born with them. And so that eagle can always survive. And so I think that's us too. And so I thought I was supposed to be a professional athlete, but I believe I was given the athletic ability to survive my childhood.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. So I could run away, so that I could have an outlet to deal with everything that was happening in my home. Um,
Yeah.
I don't say this very often, but dude, I don't care about football. No,
Wow.
no,
That's
I
real.
don't.
That's real.
There's too many other things in life, and I respect the game and all that
Mhm.
stuff, but and I spent so much time playing it, but it was definitely kept me out of the house and out of harm's way, which was good, and taught me a lot of discipline and things like that.
Mm.
But kids would call me names, and
Yep. N word and stuff like that.
yeah, the
Yep.
N word, heard that a lot, and but it's interesting. I recognize that. I think when I hit 195 pounds, I never heard that again.
Wow.
It's kind of strange,
Yeah.
And then the only times I did hear it, some cars driving at a high rate of speed, you know, and so that stopped for sure. And I'm not I'm not a violent person.
Mm-hmm.
However, when I was growing up, I was,
Mm.
and and I was very, and it made me very good at football because it's a violent game,
Right.
and they toned it down quite a bit. But if you play violently, you get rewarded for that, and that's how I played. But I would target those kids that called me names,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wait till practice. If we
Woo!
were
Light them
inside that
up.
white line, it was a different deal.
Right.
And so that was tough, and your identity and
Mm-hmm.
who you are, and we didn't have Black History Month back then, and so I didn't know all the things that African Americans had accomplished before I was even born, and that we really contributed significantly to this society. And so I didn't know. So those were difficult times, and finding out who I was outside of football, once that ended, that was a challenge too. So, but you can see today that it's a
Woo.
different day.
You
And
know what's crazy, man? As you're telling this, you know how first of all, thank you for sharing
yeah,
that. Yeah, man, so only the biggest thought that keeps popping up, even though you and I haven't met, our story is almost identical.
mm,
So,
isn't that amazing?
isn't that some? So basically, same thing about my dad. A little bit different, but an alcoholic. When I was in seventh grade, my very first, seventh grade, very first day I got on the bus, and this is like 2007 or something like that. Kid said that, N words weren't allowed to sit on this bus. He followed me home. He beat me up,
Mm,
and so, but it's crazy to think how far, sure, we've come a long way, right? But even when you were in school, the same things were happening to me, less than a decade ago.
right, which
Right.
is disappointing.
Yeah.
That would still go on, and I just when it's happening to you, you feel like it's just you, don't you?
Right. Don't
No
you?
one else.
Oh,
It's just me.
and it's worse when you go to the school and you try to tell somebody, and then they just don't get it like you get it.
Yeah,
It's like maybe you overreacting, or I don't know if that was the full story, right?
right. And this, it is. And I remember there's just been times where I've had my white friends with me at certain times, and they're like,
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw that because I thought you were, over. I remember in graduate
Right.
school, this instructor was nasty to me, and I had, I'd said a few things about it, and they said, well, it's not that we didn't believe you, but we thought you might have been being a little thin-skinned. Then I remember this guy had the last day of class, he'd read this poem. It was a beautiful poem. And so after class, I waited for him. And I asked him, hey, I love that poem. Is there any way I could get a copy of it or, the author's name?
Mm-hmm.
And about that time, my two buddies walked up. Of course, he didn't see him walking up. And so he thought it was just me and him alone. And afterward, my buddy said, he was as mean and nasty to you as he possibly could be. And he said, I wouldn't have believed it until I saw it. And that's, that's something that we get used to, as Black men, and it happens on a regular basis. And for me to learn to not react to those things and to, over transcend them, right? To
Okay.
transcend them. And then you open yourself up to so many people that actually do appreciate you and do support you and would love to learn from you and talk with you. But if we get caught up with the people that are thinking on the lower vibration, we're going
Exactly.
to be right down. We're going to be right down there with them, and we're not going to resonate with
Mm-hmm.
people that are at a higher vibration. So that's a hard lesson to learn. But once I realized that and learned it, when that happens now, I know that this is a person that just is not emotionally evolved, right? And they're not happy because happy people don't do those things.
Do you think like there was a point where maybe you didn't feel like you had a solution, like you weren't sure if it was ever going to stop?
For sure.
Yeah, I
And
remember that for me too. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And this COVID has had so many detrimental impacts, but it's also had many monumental
Hmm.
impacts. I came across a quote I never, and I'm big on quotes, Kevin.
Yeah, I know. I love
Big
it.
on quotes. And so, and I'm an Abraham Lincoln guy. I love Abraham Lincoln. He's probably my favorite U.S. president. And I came across an Abraham Lincoln quote that I'd never seen before. Then I verified it that yes, this is something he said. And it was after the Civil War, and he was giving a speech, and it was about encouraging people from the North to embrace people from the South because it's one union. And a woman in the audience questioned him, and she said, "So you're," and I'm paraphrasing, "So you're asking us to embrace our enemies?" Is what she asked him, and he said, "Madam, if if I turn my enemy into my friend, is my enemy not destroyed? And that's profound, dude.
Mm.
He didn't say defeated. He said destroyed. Because if we defeat our enemy, what's going to happen? It's going to regroup. You have to fight them again, right?
Right.
If they're destroyed, they're gone. Matter of fact, if they become your friend, they're your ally now. They have your back.
Right.
And so that's the thing. And I'm a big Sun Tzu guy, right? Art of War. I've read the book. It's this thick. It's all about strategy. And I take that strategy and apply it to business. But you know what Sun Tzu said over 2,000 years ago? He said the supreme art of war is winning without fighting. The greatest warrior wins without fighting.
And how do you apply that? How do you apply that in your personal life?
Yeah, so that means that, so if someone's opposing me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to win without fighting, then that means I'm winning here. Okay. I can defeat them here, but if I make them my friend, my enemy's destroyed.
Hmm. You
So
won.
destroyed.
Got it.
And so that's my thing. And what did Dr. King say? The only thing powerful enough to overcome hate is love.
Mm.
So, and so that's, it's tough, you know, and it's Martin Luther King. It's a tough way sometimes, but you know, you're being respectful to someone, you're showing care, you're showing love and respect, and they're being hateful to you. Everyone sees that.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone sees it.
Yeah.
Who's going to be influenced? You know, and so I remember one time Donald Trump had said a bunch of negative things about LeBron James.
Yep, I remember that.
And Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, said, "I thought LeBron James had the greatest comeback for everything that Donald Trump said." And so the reporter's like, "Well, what was it?" He didn't say anything. Exactly. He's like, "I'm not even gonna, I'm not gonna address. Why would I address that? Why would I give you any? I'm not gonna. I'm gonna keep influencing. I'm gonna keep building schools,
right?
Putting hundreds of kids through high school. That's what I want to do. Through college. I'm sorry. That's what I want to do. So I don't have time to mudsling. It's senseless and it's useless and it doesn't help anyone.
And if you don't like football anymore, what do you like to spend your time doing in your free time?
It's not that I don't like it, but there's just so many things that I want to learn.
Yeah.
And so I love reading, and then I love spending time with, friends and family. And then I love what I'm doing now, and I love learning. So I spend a lot of time on my laptop perfecting my craft.
Nice.
And that's about just nuances and learning. And sometimes, you get one piece of information, but it connects all these dots that you kind of had hanging out there. And you're like, oh, I get this whole concept now. And you never know when that's going to happen. And for me, if that happens at 10 o'clock at night, then it means I'll be up till 2 because I'm excited and I got to look in this research and I got to read that paper and then, oh yeah, this book, and let me download that. And so that's so fun. But then you have something to say, you have something to share with other people. And so it's really important for me when I do share things. I know if I don't know, I talk about what I know about. Okay. And so I've done the research, I've done the homework. I can point to the data, and it's just not my opinion, but I back it up with everything I say. I can back up with science, and so that's really important to me as well.
And for your family, who's like that warrior riding with you daily?
That's here's the thing about family in that.
Yeah, here we go.
Here's the thing about family in that, sometimes you don't have all your greatest supporters there, and that really throws a lot of people off. And so some of your most staunch supporters, you didn't come into the world with.
Right.
You didn't, you're not under the same roof. but through their words and
Their
actions,
actions.
it's
Exactly.
very clear that they love you and support you. So I really lean there, and I do want to set an example
Mhm.
in our family going back, and because there's a lot of dysfunction, ton of dysfunction, and so when I need, there's only a few cousins that I'll call,
Yep.
right, that I
Yeah.
know are reliable and will show up and without hesitation, and I really strive to do the same. I have one of my good friends was telling me, he said, I got 8 brothers, man, and said I trust you more than
Wow.
any of them.
That's real.
And he
That's
said,
real.
listen, he said, I could be broken down in a car somewhere in Wisconsin. And he said, if I call you, I know you're coming.
Mm.
He said, you're coming. He said, it's just that. He says, you might say, well, man, let me catch a 2-hour nap.
Right.
Let me get 2 hours.
Yep.
I'll see you 12. I'll see you in 10 hours. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
Right.
that way. I'll make sure I get there. And that's just important to me, because it's not being there when people really need you is not support.
No.
The fair weather fans, I'm not interested in that. I want to know when the chips are down, I need to pick up that phone and know that, I'm gonna get some help. And people need to know too, when they dial this is the bat phone. So when they call, that I'm showing up.
Right.
It's really important to me, because I've been on the other end where you get let down.
Right.
That's heartbreaking, especially like with your father.
Right.
I've got a son, and I'm his guy. Okay.
That's what's up, man.
I'm his
I
guy,
love
man.
hearing that.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, I do.
so he can be 45,
Mhm.
20 years from now, I'm his guy. That he can call or he can bounce something off of, and I got his back always. And that's me. And so,
Yeah.
and then when I didn't know that about my dad, and then when I became an adult, I didn't know that every kid's not getting beat up at home. I just kind of, that was the norm.
And there's a lot of dysfunction, especially in that era.
Yeah,
and
right.
Different.
A lot.
They're different.
And then you get older and go, wait a minute, man, my dad was abusing me. Wait a minute, this was wrong and this is not right. And then to be an adult, and really there's some heartbreaking things that happened there. And I was like, man, this guy never did have my back my whole life. He never did.
Yeah.
And then coming to that realization was kind of devastating in one way, but then in the other way, it's like, hey, and that's why I always call him my dad. I don't call him my father. He's not my father. He's my dad. My father is in heaven. Okay. You're my dad, and you failed. So, and
hey, well, speaking on that, you're one of the things that helped me kind of understand and come to terms with that and family dynamics was going to therapy.
Yes.
What about you? Same with you?
Gotta go, man. People say they put this stigma.
They put this weird thing on it, like it's
weird. Oh my God, you went to counseling?
Right, right.
And there was it's interesting because this is an interesting conversation. I was having all these struggles, and a friend gave me a book, and the book talked about Al-Anon.
Actually, don't know what that is. Al-Anon. What's that?
So everybody's familiar with Alcohol Anonymous, right? Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, Al-Anon is a group. It's kind of a spinoff, and so Al-Anon is people that go to Al-Anon.
It's for the family members.
Yes.
Yes, I know. Yes. I did have this talk with somebody a while ago. I know what you're talking about now.
So I go to this. I remember I went to my first meeting.
Yes.
And there's all these chairs in a circle.
In a circle, exactly.
I was like the first one there, and I sat down. I'm like, I can't believe I'm here.
Right.
I mean, I was just sweating bullets, like just sweating. And the meeting started, and you hear your story.
Yep.
And I heard my story 50 times. And because you think it's just you, and you feel all alone, and that was such a life-changing. There's been several life-changing events, but that was one of them, because I had all this anger, like I was telling you, and I knew I had the anger, but I couldn't do anything about it. And I didn't, I never got in trouble with police. I wasn't beating people up in the streets, but I can tell you this, people would say when I was not in a good mood, they could on the other side of the building, they could see me and know.
Wow.
That's not the good Charlie. Just that heat coming off me. And I remember one time I was moonlighting running this nightclub.
You were a security guard?
No, I was like the general manager.
Dang.
And it was an R&B, right, hip hop club.
Okay.
And so it was a bad, and I mean, it was a, they had a tough crowd. Like I carried a gun to work.
Okay.
So I'm strapped. Yeah. So and it was a bad night. And so I came home, and I remember we had these 2 pit bulls rescued. And so it's like, 3:00 in the morning, and I'm coming home, and the dogs get up, they're going to greet you, right? Those dogs took 3 steps, looked at me, they're like, they're like,
get out of here.
No.
Oh, that's funny.
He's not right. They skedaddle. That just tells you. And I remember I laid on the couch in the living room that day. Fell asleep. I mean, I woke up, it's uncomfortable sleeping with a gun in your hip. Guns poking me in the side. I'm trying to sleep. I remember in my suit jacket.
Oh, wow.
I was that tired.
Shook night.
But I had this anger, all this anger. And I remember going to Al-Anon, and I kid you not, and you can't make this up, right? Because I've been struggling for years trying to overcome it. And I'm telling you, one morning I woke up, gone.
Just like that.
Gone. Now, it doesn't mean I don't get frustrated and, I can still get upset, things like that. But that, my anger was a T-Rex.
Right.
It wasn't a lion or a tiger. We're talking T-Rex anger. And gone.
Wow.
Yeah. So I give that organization total credit for that.
Wow. And do you go to?
And I disappeared, so people probably, but it's anonymous. You know people's first name.
Exactly.
So some people are like, oh, he probably fell off the deep end. They don't know that. No, I was done. I feel great. See ya. There's people who stay in and continue to help people, which is awesome because it's all volunteer.
Right.
And it's free. And so that's the thing. It's free. So and where I'm at in Kansas City, there's a meeting. There's 2 to 3 meetings every day. So if you want to go every day, you can find a group and go. And so if anyone's listening to this, and you're the parent of an alcoholic, the child of an alcoholic, the spouse of an alcoholic, the friend of an alcoholic, and what you find out is you're just as sick as they are. Mm-hmm. You're just as sick as they are. And when you realize that, because you've lived in that environment, and it's so helpful. And it's proven, it's been around for decades. And so I highly recommend it because that was a life changer for me, a lifesaver, I think.
Wow. What do you think you would have done if you didn't go?
I'd be dead or in jail. Without doubt.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, but
yeah, that's honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think some people would sabotage because their pride won't let them go?
Yeah, and that's the thing is your pride.
Yeah.
And because we look at it as weakness, and you don't want to appear weak. But if you lose your temper and go to jail, you're weak. If you lose hope and take your life, you're weak. Right? So, but we don't want people to know we're weak. Well, they're going to find out anyway. Right? They're going to find out anyway. So, setting your pride aside and getting help is so you can go do great things, right?
Right.
You can go do great things. When you break a bone in your body and you don't have any disease process going on, your body repairs that bone, makes it so strong you'll never break it there again. Wow. Okay, so when we get broken in spirit, if we get help to overcome that, we'll never get broken like that again. Okay, but we got to admit we've been broken, and that's not easy, but it happens. But again, there's so many things, Kevin, in life. That was a bruise. It's not a tattoo. Okay. We're wearing stuff like it's a tattoo. It was a bruise. Or we got a life lesson, and we turn our life lessons into a life sentence. No, it was a life lesson. It's not a life sentence. That's not your life. That's a lesson in your life. Okay, you're not that event that happened, and so that's big. And I went to a retreat about 2 years ago, and really the retreat was about stripping down all this false, bravado. We got all this body armor on. I'm tough. Nobody's gonna get to me, see me. And I remember going through this week-long process that kind of strips that away. And then you see yourself for who you are at the core, strengths and weaknesses, but you're looking at those weaknesses. But it happened in a group setting. So I know people had one vision of me when I walked in the room on Monday, and I'm not the same guy on Friday. And I remember promising myself, because it was such a hard week to go through that. I mean, we had 6 CEOs in this room, right? Presidential CEOs of this room. Every man in that room wept openly.
Wow.
At some point.
Woo!
Okay. I walked in the room, and they had these 6 stations, and you had your workbook and all stuff. There's like a box of tissues by everybody's station. I'm like, what are those tissues? I'm like, I'm not crying for no. I don't know. They don't need to take that tissue paper away. I'm talking about these guys were boo-hooing, some of them. Okay, boo-hooing, not a tear hitting, boo-hooing. Okay. And so I remember after that, I was like, you know what? I'm never going back to that guy, right? That I don't want anybody to think I'm something that I'm not. And so I want what you see is what you get. And so if that's how it is, then it's my job to make it as great as it can be. But this is it. I'm not going to tell you one thing, and then I get off the call and I'm cursing at my children and yelling at the neighbor and kicking the dog. No, that's not the way.
Right.
So, and that's the true strength, is being open for people to see you, who you really are, those vulnerabilities, and then recognizing your weakness and working to overcome. That's true strength. Faking it, those people aren't strong.
They're just
what happens. They're like that big oak tree, right?
Yeah.
So and then that storm comes. What happened? Pow! The oak tree's laying in the street, right? Or fell on the house, or crushed the car.
Yeah.
Broken. Where you see the bamboo. What does it do? Right. Back.
Right.
And bamboo's like, what's bamboo like? 5 times stronger than steel. Yeah. So that's it. We've got to understand that and get over that false bravado stuff. There's a lot of false bravado. A lot of those folks are in the cemetery or in the penitentiary. Tough guys. So there's nothing tough about that.
Well, my friend, I wish I could keep talking all day, because I want people probably like, Kev, it's over now. Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
I want to stay, but why don't you tell everybody how they can stay connected with you, what you got going next, and then we'll close out.
Yeah, so Dr. Charlie Cartwright's my name, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn. See all my content there, and then I have the Dashcam Wisdom YouTube channel, and I'm Dr. Charlie Cartwright at gmail.com. So if you want to drop me an email, that's awesome. I will reply, and I just look forward to getting feedback and connections with folks. And I've got some more podcasts coming up soon, and I've got there's been a lot of guest appearances, and so there's all these pieces of the story, and it's really fun to do that. And then I have another YouTube channel called Dr. Charlie's Corner, and I put together a real special 4-part series on a friend of mine that I grew up with that just overcame some tremendous obstacles, and that's been really inspirational to people that have watched that
Nice.
series. And he's great, just one of the great people out there, and he's an inspiration to me. So I wanted other people to know about his story. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey man, thank you so much for being open, being vulnerable, being honest, and just being present. Really, it's
I
just
love it. Thank you.
what we need in life right now. So thank you so much, Doc.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Awesome. All right, we'll see y'all next time, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Absolutely.